Hi, welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, my name's Andy and I'm the founder of Mole Candles. My channel is all about growing your own candle business from scratch and the struggles and difficulties that come along with that. So I'm very much in the processes of doing all that as we speak. So it's kind of documenting the difficulties and the successes that I'm having along the way. In this video, I will be burning a test candle and showing you the process of how I go about doing that. If you'd like to see the video of how I make the test candle, which is a wickless candle, you can go back into the channel and you'll find the video in there. But for now, what I'll do in this video is I'm going to take you through the testing process of how I burn the candle, what it is I do during the process, and more importantly, what it is I'm looking for to understand whether I have made a successful test candle. So let me show you the process. Okay, so it's been 4 hours now since I lit the candle. This is actually currently performing really nicely. So if I just show you here, there is still a little bit of a hang up on one of the sides. But I'm not too worried about that at this stage, because what will happen once the candle burns further and further down is it'll start getting hotter as it goes down. So as this burns down further and further, the likelihood is that that will then that hang up on the side there will start to melt. So it'll kind of all catch up with itself. But for the time being, yeah, I think this is burning really nicely for the first burn. So it's been 4 hours. The flame's behaving really nicely, as you can see. There's no build up on the end of the wick. So yeah, that's all looking like it's burning nicely. There's kind of no carbon build up there. The hot throw is probably not as strong as I'd like it to be, although it is noticeable in the room, but my room is actually quite big and open plan, so I'm just wondering if that's going to be having a bit of a negative impact on the hot throw. So I think what I might do on the next burn is just move the candle to a smaller room, one that's not open plan, so I can probably use the bathroom or a bedroom upstairs, and that should then give a little bit more of an accurate reading as to, you know, how well the hot throw is performing. Just to show you, excuse the mess, but this is my living room area, and then it's kind of all open plan here, and then around there into the kitchen. So it is quite a big space for a small candle to try and fill. But I am gonna just keep an eye on that, because obviously I do want the hot throw to be noticeable, possibly a bit more noticeable than it is now down here. So I'm going to note that down. This is all kind of what you do during testing, is you see how things are going, and then just note stuff down. Otherwise, I've tried doing it before where I don't write it down and I forget. So yeah, I end up being back to square one or really confused as to what it was that happened. So yeah, always note down how things have burned, how well the hot throw is, and how well the wick's performing and the flame. So yeah, I think I'm going to blow this out now because it's been over 4 hours, and yeah, I'm going to leave it then to just cool and set. So ideally you want to leave that to set for about, well, 4 or 5 hours again before you try and do another test burn. So yeah, I'm going to do that. I'm going to blow that out now, and I will be back later when I do a second test burn in the bathroom. So it's been about 3.5 hours later since the candle was blown out before from the first burn. So we're now just going to do a second burn test up in the bathroom. The bathroom's a lot smaller, so I'm hoping to get a bit more of a feel of how strong the hot throw is up here. So I'm just going to light it now and do the second burn. Oop, that's a burn myself. There we go. So yeah, I'm just going to leave that now for another few hours just to let it burn. So I'll keep checking it every sort of half hour or so just to make sure it's still burning safely. Obviously, because yeah, I'm not spending my whole time in this room whilst it's lit. So I will keep checking it and just make sure it's burning correctly and safely. Okay, so this is now 4 hours into the second burn, and you can start to see now the candle's actually burned quite a lot to the edge now. particularly on this side. This side still has some hang up, but I'm actually not worried about that because the flame's burning really nicely. The wick isn't mushrooming or anything like that, so the wick is burning really effectively. The hot throw is actually a lot better than it was before. But again, I am going to still try this in another room, like a slightly bigger room, just so I can gauge whether it needs to have more fragrance oil added to the formula, just to ensure that it does give off like a really nice fragrance into the room with the hot throw. So yeah, I'm happy with the burn testing so far. I think we just need to do a little bit more testing as it gets further down the jar, just to make sure that the candle does still continue to burn safely. But yeah, I'm really happy with it so far. Okay, so I forgot to video me lighting this candle, but it has been about 4 hours now, and just looking at the way the candle's burning, it is actually burning really well. I'm really happy with the way the wick is burning and the flame. It's all quite stable. Now you notice that there is still quite a bit of hang up on this side of the candle, whereas the other side has kind of all melted down equally. So I'm not too worried about it because the candle's just burning really effectively. The only thing that I am thinking is, because the melt pool, as you can see if we look down the side, the melt pool isn't really that deep. So I think what's usually supposed to happen is the melt pool, we should be looking at around 1/4 of an inch down the jar. So at the moment, I mean, we're nearly there, but it's not a full melt pool across the whole diameter of the candle. And we know the melt pool is actually what gives off the hot throw. So although I can smell in the air in this room, it is there, it is present. It's not necessarily a very strong smell. Now, when I say strong, I don't mean, you know, like really overpoweringly strong. I just feel like it needs to be amplified a little bit more. So I've got two things that I can do now. I can either try increasing the wick size to the next wick up in this CL series, so it'll be a CL6, and see if that improves the hot throw, because that should burn hotter. So we should be able to get a bit more of a melt pool and a bit of a deeper melt pool. So obviously that will mean that more fragrance is going to be released from the candle. The other thing I can do is keep the wick the same, but increase the percentage of fragrance oil. So this was 7% that I used in this one. So I could maybe try increasing it to 8 or 9%, see how that works. But I think what I'll do, because I don't have any more of this particular fragrance oil, I think the next stage would probably be to try increasing the wick size. So I think that's what I'm going to do in the next one. I know that this is going to burn really safely, the CL4. So I've got a couple of options. I'm going to try just changing the wick first to CL6, and we'll see what happens with that in the 4th burn test. Okay, so it's the end of the first burn of the CL6 wick, and you can see the wick itself has started to mushroom quite badly. Well, not too badly, but it has started to mushroom, which means that there is some carbon buildup on the top of the wick there. The hot throw actually in this room, which is the bedroom, is actually really nice. So it's actually a shame that the wick has started to mushroom like that. But as you can see, there is still some hang up on the side, but it is starting to melt it now. With the melt pool going across the full diameter of the vessel, it is releasing a lot more of a hot throw now. So I think what I need to work out is how to make the melt pool burn across the top, but also for the wick to then not mushroom as it is now. So that's going to be my next task, is trying to figure out what to do about that and how to fix it. But hot throw is actually really nice. The jar isn't hot at all to touch, so I am wondering whether, you know, is that mushrooming such a bad thing if the vessel and the candle is still burning quite efficiently. But yeah, I'm going to blow this out now, and we'll do another burn in it tomorrow, using the same wick, just to see what happens. So we'll just need to give that a trim before we do another test burn tomorrow. Okay, so as you can see, this wick, which is the 6, it has actually got a really nice melt pool, but the wick itself is actually burning quite badly. I don't know if you can see, if I zoom in, there's quite a big mushroom happening on the wick, and it's actually fallen over and half of it's back in the wax, and yeah, not great. I mean, it has cooled the flame down slightly because it's got rid of the big mushroom off the top now that it's submerged, but that's not how I would kind of perceive a candle to be burning safely. The jar is actually, it's like hot to touch. So yeah, like really hot to touch, I mean. So I think, although the hot throw is amazing throughout the whole of the downstairs, and this is like my open plan kind of downstairs living area, the hot throw is actually really amazing, and I think it's because it's given like quite a deep melt pool, as you can see there. I'm trying to block that light off a bit so you can see a bit better. Yeah, so the melt pool is now sort of not too deep. That's actually okay, but the flame is just, well, the wick has just been burning a little bit too hot. Yeah, so I'm gonna have to rethink the wick. It's definitely not working correctly. It's burning the wax nicely, but it's drawing up too much of the, I don't know what, like whether it's just too much of the fragrance oil or too much wax, and that's why it's given us that mushroomed top. So yeah, a bit annoying because yeah, it's actually heating the wax up nicely, but the wick is just not burning safely. So probably gonna have to go back to the drawing board. I might try, now that the candle's further down the jar, try using the CL4 again. Now that we know this one's burning a bit too hot, because we know that as the candle burns down through the jar, it does actually burn a lot hotter. So I'm gonna try the other wick back in it now. So I'm gonna replace this one with a CL4, and then we'll go through another burn test of that now that the candle's kind of 50% down the jar. So I will do that next. That's gonna be the next burn. Okay, so I went back to the CL4 wick, and as I was hoping, we are getting a full melt pool further down the candle. So the wick is still burning really nicely with this one, and it's been burning for about 2 hours now. There's a tiny bit of hang up on one side, but as you can see, the rest of the melt pool across the top is actually fully melted. The hot throw in the big room, which is the living room I'm in downstairs, is actually, it's working really nicely. Now that we've got that full melt pool, it is really giving off a lot more of the fragrance, and it is actually spilling out across through to the dining room area, which is over there and just round the corner into the kitchen. So I'm really pleased with this. I think this is probably, I'm going to do another full candle test. Oh, you can see me in there. Hello. I'm going to do another full candle test with the CL4 wick, and yeah, just go all the way through from full candle down to, well, till the candle's burnt out really. Obviously just burning that over 4-hour periods each time, because that's just the recommended thing to do with candles so that they burn safely. But yeah, that's it. I think I'm really pleased with that. I'm gonna have to just order another sample of this particular oil, because the oil sample I had initially was, I think I've used about 3/4 of the bottle. So gonna order another one of these, which is the Salty Pebble from Craft HQ, and yeah, happy with that. Firstly, apologies for the really crappy, scrappy filming of this video. It's kind of been a bit thrown together in between me doing my full-time job and doing other bits as well. So it's not the most professional looking video, and I'm fully aware of that. But yes, I'm really happy with the candle that I've been testing. I feel like the wick that I've picked there, or the wick that I've tried, which is the CL4 wick, is the best performing one for that particular candle. So then the next steps of what I'm going to do now is I'm just going to order another sample of that fragrance oil from Craft HQ. Might order a bigger one this time. And I'm going to do another full candle, but I'm going to increase the percentage of fragrance oil. I think I've used 7% in this particular test candle. I'm going to increase it to maybe 8 or 9%. Now, I know that there's a lot of stuff on the internet where people say, you know, putting more fragrance oil in doesn't necessarily affect the hot throw. And I'm fully aware of that, but the reason that I want to try it with a slightly increased percentage, maybe 1 or 2%, is because currently I'm at 7% in this particular candle, and I think the wax recommendations is it can hold between 8 to 12%. So I know the candle and the wick burn fine now with the CL4 wick. So the next steps for this candle is to just experiment with increasing the fragrance oil percentage, and then just checking it again to see if it's burning safely and efficiently, and also just to see if the hot throw's increased. Because the good thing with this candle now that it's burned further down the jar is the hot throw is actually filling this room a lot better. So as you can see, it is a bit of a sort of an open plan space that doesn't really have any doors, and over there you can see it goes into the kitchen area. But you can smell it throughout here. I just want to see if we can increase that ever so slightly and make it slightly a bit stronger. So I hope you found that useful. If you are going through similar struggles with understanding your test candles and whether they have actually been successful or not, please do comment below and drop me a message, and I'll hopefully be able to help you with some advice and tips. Also, please remember to subscribe if you find these videos interesting and relatable to yourself. If you're going through the same processes of starting up your own business and trying to work things out as you go along, it'd be really cool to connect and get some conversations going so that we can kind of help each other along the way. But I'll leave it there for this video, and I hope to see you in the next one. Bye bye.